Hi, in this video we'll be continuing with the C# video tutorials. So in this video we'll be going over passing arrays as arguments to methods. So we've done these in the notes, we'll just do some more examples here. So I think these examples we've done, we can just talk about it. So for example, we could have here, we could say that we have a method called, for example, showArray. Let's just say we have private void showArray. And so here to pass an array as a parameter, you could pass in string array. You could pass in a string array, str array, so it's a string array like that. So it's saying that it's taking a string array named string array. Well, it doesn't have to be named string array, it's just taking a string array. So here we'll say, for example, for each. So for each string str in, so we're saying for each, so we're saying a string str in str array. Remember that str variable from the notes is going to point to each element in the array. So we're saying for string str in str array, so it's going to iterate through the array and point str to each variable on each iteration starting at index 0 to n-1, where n is the size. Then here we'll say, for example, message box dot show will pass in str. So what's happening here is that we're calling a message box. We're calling a message box dialog box to pop up and show each element on the screen, where str is going to point to str array. So str is going to point to str array. So if we have, let's say we declare a string array here. So if we have, for example, str, let's say we have a string, actually sorry, let's make this a field. Actually that is a field, sorry. There's an extra spot in C# which has a namespace, so it's a little tricky. You just have to go under that. You don't really, I don't think you work up here ever, between there and there. So you just go down here. So here we'll have, or at least often, let's just say often. There might be some other system things you could do between there and there. But we don't need to do that right now. So let's just say here, we'll have, so let's say we have a string array, so string, we could call it str array. You could call it something else, I believe. So string str array, actually let's put the array symbols here, so string array str array. We'll create an object reference, an array object reference variable, then here we'll instantiate them to, we'll instantiate the array, so we'll say str array points to new str array, and we'll pass in here, sorry no, str array points to new str array, and we'll pass in here, for example, a size. No. That should be correct. Am I missing something from there? Private string array str points to new, string here, my bad. Type. 100 probably be too much, so we'll just go with like 5. Actually, let's just go with 4. So we have private string array, str array, and then str array points to new string of 4 elements. Then here we'll have, now we have a string, so each time, well then we could just have a loop here, so we could go for int I points to 0, I is less than str array dot length. I plus plus we could say, whoops, we could say str array of array index I points to, we could have a random object here, random, random, or let's go with rand, so random rand, private, should do private, my bad. You don't really need to, it's just this IDE, because remember if you don't, it just takes them as private. I think there's a difference between that and between C# and Java. So if you don't assert the private keyword here, in C# it's gonna implicitly think that it's private. I believe if you don't assert an access modifier in Java, it assumes that it's public. So it's a little bit opposite, similar but different, almost the same, just a few little changes. It's just really up to the developers of the language. They just decided that it's a choice. Maybe they wanted to make it different. That's not too bad of a change. So here we have str array of array index I we're pointing to, so let's just, we had a random object up here. So we'll say private random rand. Then underneath this array here we could have, we'll call this, rand's fine. So here we'll say rand points to new random. And here we could say str array of array index I points to rand dot next int. I think it's just next. You could say pass in a value there. Is that wrong? What's wrong with that? Problems. Random. The syntax might be slightly off. Let's just go with next. Target array string. Oh yeah, so here we could perhaps go .toString. There we go. So if you get a type mismatch there, you could just always just tag it onto a toString. I don't think we've actually done this one, so it might be a good example. So let's just try that. So what's happening here? So we have this array here. The constructor sets up, well, the form in this case in C#. Well, in a Windows Forms app, in a .NET app. But here, pretty much, we're saying the str array of array index I. We're saying so in this condition, it's for I points to 0. I is less than str array dot length. So what's the length? The length is 4. So for int I points to 0, I is less than 4 I plus plus. That's all that says. Then here we're saying the str array of array index I, where in this case I is going to be 0, points to the random number object dot next. So it's going to create a random number. .toString, so it's going to then store that number as a string in the array. That's going to iterate 4 times, 0 to 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. Once we get to 3, 3 is less than 4, that's going to be the last iteration. Once it's 4, this condition becomes false. So each time the show array method is called, it's going to just pretty much just, so I think we actually have to call show array here. Maybe not. It might actually not let me call a method in a constructor. I'm not sure if that'll actually run, because we might need like a button to click for that to run. Well, let's just, yeah. So I could just tell you pretty much what's going to happen. So in the show array method, if we were calling this on a button click, then this method's going to take a string array, which is in this case is called str array, but it's just taking an array. So then we're saying, okay, for each string str, so this is going to point to like some random values. So every time so it's going to iterate 4 times str, and every time str is going to point to the value, and the message box is going to print out the value. So 4 times. That's pretty much it. So and we'll do another one here. Yeah, it's not going to trigger anything on the form, I think, unless we're showing that in the it's not. I don't think it's letting me call. It's not letting me call that method in a constructor. Reason is because it. Okay, I know the reason why. The reason is because it doesn't know about this. So when this code execution starts, it goes from top to bottom. So it's going to get to the constructor. If we're trying to call the method here, it's going to be like, well, I don't know what that is. I haven't declared that method yet. Or at runtime, like I haven't actually gone through that code yet, so it doesn't know. So that's why you kind of need to have that in a button click or something below. But anyways, now we'll just do, so we can use an initializing list, or an initialization list. So here we could say string array strs points to, for example, here we could just open up those curly brackets, and then here we could just put in, for example, some, like we could put in here like blueberries. We get comma oranges, comma grapes, and then done. So we just have 3 strings in there. Then at some point later on, what's happening here? Okay, so at some point later on, for example, we could just have pretend we have like a button click event handler. Then down here we could say we want to call show array. We want to call show array and then pass in, for example, strs. Then that would basically just print out all the so the pop-up window would pop up and say blueberries, oranges, grapes after you click OK. So arrays are passed by reference always. That's a little tricky to understand. So we could just run this. It would work. But I believe you should be able to call this by a different name. We can test it out later. What else do we have here? Okay, so we have like a lab for this, which I guess we'll do in the next video, because this one looks like it's going to be a long lab. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys like the video, you can like and subscribe to support the channel for more programming and investing tutorials. And the next video we'll be doing a lab on passing arrays as a parameter. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.